Good afternoon, everybody, or morning or evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us for Scott's session on making Power BI do things it probably shouldn't. I'm very curious about this, and yeah, I'm going to have let Scott do all the talking from now on. Scott, please amaze us
Hi.
with your knowledge.
I'll try. No promises. Hi all. So I'm going to talk about making Power BI do things it probably shouldn't. It's a little bit of a provocative title, I think. But I think hopefully you'll see where I'm coming from when I explain why I made Power BI do something it probably shouldn't and how I thought of this kind of talk. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. So yeah, about me. I'm a consultant at Altius at the moment, and that's kind of a leading data platform and analytics, Power BI kind of place in the UK. Growing hugely at the moment. I joined last year, but I'm quite an old person there now because of how fast we're growing. My background's kind of in computer science, mostly in machine learning and AI. I have that kind of I've done a lot kind of around AI and machine learning and the cloud. And I'm passionate a lot about Azure, Power BI. Power BI is very much like a gateway into very many Microsoft products, and R and Beer, which is always important, and it's important in one of the demos today, and Rugby League, if anyone's familiar with that stuff. Um, so yeah, so I just kind of want to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. So I've got an interesting use case that I had to do about a year ago, a year and a half ago now, where I had to use Selenium, which I'll come on to what it is, where it's kind of a test framework to log into a website and get some data out inside of Power BI. And I think it's kind of a useful thing. I had a Google a long while ago, and no one had ever spoken about it. So I thought it's a good idea for a talk. It's probably not the way in which anyone from the Power BI team intended Power BI to be used, but it does hopefully provide an interesting idea and maybe inspire some of you if you've got some weird use cases to use Power BI for. Yes, I kind of had a real world use case. I want to explain this to you. So I don't seem like I just tried to shoehorn a solution together using Selenium and Power BI. So we kind of had this real world use case where we had a multi-tenanted application, which kind of had its own reporting engine. The reporting engine was good at some things, but not Power BI level of good at a lot of things and kind of analytics. I mean, we couldn't interface directly with the underlying data source. Just wasn't possible at the time. So we had to get the data out somehow, and you could obviously log in, and you could execute predefined reports as a user, and that's kind of useful. But there's this issue there where you have to log in every day, and doing that, or I have to log in every time you want the data, and if you have to log into say 10 tenants at a time, because you have to log in individually, you can't run a report across all of those tenants. That's a lot of work for someone. That's an hour's worth of work of just clicking some buttons, and that's a little bit dull. There must be a better way. And yeah, you could download that report data as CSVs on a tenant by tenant basis, but again, you have to log in. So is there a quicker way to do that? Hopefully there was. And yeah, this all needs to be done in a few weeks by me, so it had to be a quick and hacky solution. So hopefully this yeah explains kind of where I'm coming from. So yeah, I was sat there. I was like, how do I solve this problem? And I had a kind of an idea. I knew that I knew that Power BI was really good at running R scripts, and you could you could run R scripts, and I've done that in the past. And well, as I said at the beginning, I'm quite a big fan of R. I know R really well. It's probably one of the best skills I have. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I had seen a post about someone running Selenium with R, driving it from R, which is an interesting uh, use case. And what was interesting from that was we were using Selenium at the time in the company I was working at to do a lot of automated UI testing. So there's already kind of Selenium around and it's kind of accepted by the business. So yeah, that kind of gave me an idea. I tried to do it and it was kind of a success. So I'm going to show you the findings from that. So we could log in automated using R to use. I'll show you. Hold on, I'll show you. So wait a minute. So I'm going to explain what all these components do in just a second. But you could just say you've just done some sort of solution as a Power BI data set, and it does some magic in the background, logs into a website, downloads some data, and does some stuff. But why didn't you just write that in R? Why do you need to use Power BI? And why didn't you dump that data into a data lake? Then obviously you have all the common things you can do with a data lake. And the reason why is at the point of refreshing the Power BI report, we had to have the latest data. So you have this problem where you need you need up to the date data, a minute data, and if you did a scheduled refresh of even every 5 minutes, sorry, not scheduled refresh, you had some sort of application running every 5 minutes, you download data, you obviously wouldn't be real time. You could probably do something in the background in real time, but you're effectively just downloading loads and loads of copies of the data for no real reason. There's kind of other solutions you could think about, but in the main, you wanted the Power BI refresh to be linked to the latest data, so it got the latest data at that point and wasn't looking at a version older, or wasn't having to be refreshed through some API call or something to Power BI service. So yeah, so I mentioned there was three components. There's R, there's obviously Power BI, and there's Selenium. So I just want to explain what each one is. So like I said, Selenium kind of does automated testing frameworks. So you test web applications commonly, and you commonly can build this kind of automation tests around websites and services that you want to interact with. It lets you record those actions. You can interact with a website. It's kind of perfect for scraping data, even though it's not its main use case. I think it lets you interact with websites where you have to log in and authenticate. And if you need to scrape data, it could be quite morally grey if you don't got permission. But assuming you have permission, it's all good. Tests obviously can be running most modern web browsers, and there's an R and Python interface, which is great for me, which kind of two of my favorite programming languages, and it's free. And anything that's free is normally a positive. And so I'm going to just talk about Docker really quickly. So I didn't mention that, but Docker is kind of a way to containerize packages. Well, you can containerize packages, and you can contain. It allows virtualization, so it's kind of like a virtual machine, but it allows you to package up all the dependencies and anything you need to run something, and just ship that container. Really simply, to a user, or especially in the world of Power BI, we're going to have to use a data gateway to use R. So if we're thinking as a data set, so if we're thinking about shipping that component, it's Docker's kind of the right idea. Selenium has out of the box Docker images as well, so we can basically just pick a Selenium Docker image and run that, and it should perform the same no matter where we run it. No matter what machine we run it on, it should always be consistent, which is kind of the main reason of using Docker and the main positive of this. So yeah, if you want to get started on Docker, it's pretty simple. The documentation is pretty good, but I'll show you an example anyway when I'm going into an example. How to get started? It's so simple. So yeah, and R is kind of if you're just not familiar with R, hopefully everyone is. It's been around in Power BI a long time. I know Python's now in Power BI, which makes me slightly sad as well as happy, because I don't want R to go away from Power BI. But yeah, it's mainly a statistical language. You can do kind of programming, you can do models and data science in it. And it runs in kind of inside of Power Query. It requires data gateway, as I kind of mentioned, for a kind of a scheduled refresh. Or you can kind of run it. You can run it inside the custom visuals. I've got a custom visual that I built inside R for kind of looking at distributions data around the heat map. It's quite nice and simple to get used to. So I kind of want to show you a quick example, and this example is just logging into a powerbi.com, and inside of R, and then I'm going to show you obviously running inside of Power BI. And we'll step through it in R because it lets me show you print screens step by step, which I think is quite a nice way to demo what we're doing. Let me just drag my R Studio over here. Okay, cool. Sorry, let me just check. I was having some issues with my Docker container earlier. just before we started, so I think it's fine. Run. Right. Yeah. So this is RStudio. It's just a development environment for R. If you're not familiar with it, it's not anything special. I mean, I really love it, but I mean, it's not anything special in the sense that you could use any other tool to do this. There's nothing unique to this problem. So what should we be running? Okay. So if you want to get once you've got Docker installed, you can pull images for Selenium, and that's pretty simple. I'm not going to pull it, but you would simply run this command in terminal, in your terminal, so in your PowerShell or command line, sorry, command prompt. I can do this inside of RStudio, but you would just simply run pull, and that would pull you the Selenium image for a standalone image of Chrome. If you want to do Firefox, which I can show you, oops, let's not have caps lock on, that won't be good. If you do Firefox, that would work. And that will download you an image. I'll let that run because I don't know how good my internet is with streaming at the same time. But yeah, you can do that inside of R here, which is just shell, which lets you call out to the shell to set it up. So you can make sure that happens as part of your Power BI installation if you want to. So as part of your Power BI data set. I wouldn't recommend that, but you could do. Yeah, we already have the latest Firefox, but it would try and pull it. And then when you want to run your Docker container, you would simply run this command or a similar, a command that's for your use case, but pretty much is, Docker run, and this just maps the ports. Hopefully you can all see that. This just maps the ports from your local machine to the remote Docker virtual machine that's running. And it'll just run a version of Chrome. And then what I'll let you do is there's a package here in R called rselenium that you load. So if you just run that library, I've already got it loaded, but if you load it, that'll let you give you the access to run some various different Selenium commands. So you can do this, which will let you create a remote connection to that Docker container you have, which is pretty cool. And you can, let me just clear this down so you don't have to see that. And I'll show you it being generated again. So we can open our connection. So we're opening, if you can see down here, the terminal is giving us some information, and we've navigated to powerbi.com. And you're like, okay, that's cool, but how do I know I'm at powerbi.com? Well, there's loads of kind of functions you can use to see information about what web page you're on. So I can see the title of the web page is sign in powerbi.com. I can also make a nice little print screen. And if we look, we're on powerbi.com. That's a nice static image. And what we want to do is click this button, and that's an interesting problem. So to click this button, we can kind of go, well, I want to find an element on the page, and I want it to be found by, there's various ways to find it, as I'll show you, but I want it to be found by the class it is on the web page. So you can quickly go, if I show you that website, Chrome lets you kind of, I'm going to be signed in. Let me sign myself out. Go back to this web page. It's not going to take me. Hold on, let me go in incognito. So yeah, it takes me to this web page, and in Chrome you can kind of go, I want to inspect this element. I'll give you some information about what it is, and you can see the class here is button, and that's the class of the thing, of the object on the page. You can click this little thing up here. It's pretty useful, and it'll give you lots of information about what you're choosing and what you're not choosing. And there's also a gadget I have called Selectorize Gadget. It'll do the same sort of thing for you if you can do this, and it'll give you some information about what's happening. Sorry, but yeah, the idea is that you kind of explore the web page. You can kind of do some really cool stuff. You can drive that web page and integrate with it. So we've selected. Let's just run that code before I do anything. We've selected that button. And then we can click that button, which is what we want to do. So we go here, we go and click it. Okay, cool. Let's see if we've changed page. The easiest way is to find out if the page title has changed. It says sign into your account. Didn't say that before. It said sign in Microsoft Power BI. So we've definitely changed page, and I assume, we hopefully assume we're on the classic Microsoft login page, which is cool. So what we want to do is you want to put some information in there. So I've just said I want to send, it's already selected by default, which makes our life a lot easier. We don't have to go find that text box and do the same sort of thing. So we can go send it to the currently active item, and we want to send my email address, so it's Altius, and obviously the key after enter, because we want to go to the next screen to type the password. So if I do that, that will hopefully take me to the password dialog now, and then we can. I've got sleeps here because when it's running inside of R, it'll sometimes go too fast. Inside Power BI, it'll go too fast, and what will happen is it'll just try and enter all the commands on the first page, and you'll end up just trying to type your own password in on that signing page, or while that signing page is loading to the next page, which is not useful. Cool. So yeah, we're there. It's asking for my password. I'm not going to show you my password. I've got a function that I've kind of wrapped my password inside, so hopefully, yep, does the same as above. Effectively, it just types my password and it presses enter, but it's hidden, so you won't see that, hopefully, unless something goes drastically wrong and I share my password to the internet, but hopefully not. Yeah, cool. It's logged me and it's asked me that common, do you want to reduce the number of times you send in? Well, sure, but it doesn't really matter. But I'll just, for the sake of it, press enter. And that should hopefully take me to my workspace on powerbi.com. That's what I'm really hoping. Come on. Taking a while. Okay, taking a while. Ooh, okay, I just pressed escape to see if that'll work. See if that. So we see if we can get the page title. Okay, let's have a quick look if we can get the page title, because
It's always the worst when they want
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's a great. This is the easiest part of the demo as well. Okay, I'll just restart my session. Let's do that. I can do that up here, I think. Restart. Somewhere up here. Restart our session. There's a really simple way, isn't there, to do it? Is it environment? I will remember how to restart my session in a second. It might be in here. Restart. There we are. Yeah. Terminate our session. Not terminate. Restart. Yeah. Cool. Let's just rerun those steps really quickly. So yep. So that's already running. So don't bother. Let's just let's get this working. It's always the best when your demo fails. It's fine. I just cool. I'll do my login. Oh, okay. Yeah, I broke something. That's why probably my Docker was being a little bit temperamental just before. I'll just restart it and we'll just let's just hope it. Let's just do. Come on. Not having any luck. Are you gonna work? Nope. Okay, I have broken RStudio, which is awesome. Cool. I will. Let's try that. Let's just try and restart my Docker containers. Containers, right? LS. So you can see all the containers that are running. Yeah, okay, that's. I broke my computer. That is a even more severe problem.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, I think I broke my computer. That's.
If you want, we can pretend that there's a ton of Docker containers there.
Yeah.
All right. There it
Okay.
is.
Cool. It's responding. Cool. Yeah. It's just. Cool. We can just restart. I'll just do it again. We can restart that Docker container. Restart and then just find the name, which is 5E7 E8 sorry 8B 5B84. Cool. That should restart. Hopefully, we can rerun this script then quickly. Are we gonna? My computer's not happy today. Yeah, so let's just run. It's not okay. We're connected. Cool. Back to a Docker container. So if I just some of these things quickly again, we can log back in. We can check the title. Let's just check it to make sure we're on the right track. Hopefully, will log me in, which is good. And we'll wait a second. Cool. When we do that, we should hopefully see again. So yeah, so I guess that's a good. This is a good illustration. So because of how Selenium works, they're kind of isolated. Isolated sessions. So it's obviously when you're running web tests, that's kind of its main use case. It doesn't want any knowledge of the previous state of when it last time it ran. Because you can kind of have statefulness, I think, but I've never done it. But I think that the usefulness of it is, I see now. You see, this is useful, but let's just we're logged in to powerbi.com. Woo. There we are. So that's my workspace, and that's our last screenshot. Now, I have a little report. It's literally the worst report you're ever going to see in the world of Power BI. It doesn't have any data, but what it does do is it lets me illustrate that you can select a report. So I've just done this. This is a little bit more complicated. It uses a CSS selector, and that kind of tool I showed you called Selectorize Gadget is a way in which you can select these. If you go to that web page, you turn that on a web page. It'll let you generate the kind of value you need to click the exact button you want. I'm just conscious of how much time I have, so I'll just quickly run through this because I wanted to show you a little bit more useful use case. So yeah, we've got a report. It's called empty, which is awesome. And another way we can search the web page is to look for links. So the exact thing we're looking for here is there's some link text that's got empty in it, and we want to click that. So we select the item first. That's cool. We've selected it, and then we can click that element. And if we do that, then hopefully we'll open up the world's worst Power BI report. Yay. Sorry, that's also that text doesn't make any sense. but yeah, there you are. So we've selected that. We've gone into that web page. This is all possible and able to run inside of Power BI. As much as my Docker's being a little bit of a pain today with Selenium, that's mostly just because I haven't configured it perfectly. It's not because of it's not possible. So I will, if I so I could change that text just to prove to you this isn't a static image, which was my original plan. Let me just sign into Power BI. I hope this is Power BI I'm signing into. Yeah, it is. And if I go in here, I could refresh that by going, edit report. It's just literally just a label. Going, hi. There it is. It's 12:26, right? So 12:26 where I am. So if I do that, I can show you that this is live. So if I do the refresh command, I should now see. Oop, did I save that? That should work. Oh, I refreshed the page, but I haven't sent you a new screenshot. That would be useful. There you are. So I refresh the page. There you are. So you can interface with websites, which is really cool inside of Power BI. And yeah, if we want to get the value out of that, I think this should work. how Power BI renders reports is really interesting in the web, and similarly with other Microsoft products, as I'll kind of show you in a minute. But I've got that value, so I can get the text out of that, and if I look, there's the text I got from that label. So my idea is that I want to go into someone else's report and steal their data. I don't know why I'd do that by logging in and not doing, using an API, but I guess it's just to illustrate the potential of this. And I thought a Power BI website would be quite good, so I can do this. I can make this into a data frame, and then if I was to look at this data frame, it will give me some values. You see, I've got 2, and I've now got a report that just runs that inside of it. So if I show you the report, Power BI, here we are. Oh, is it this one? I think it's this one. Let's just check. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. That's interesting. Should be. Oh yeah, okay. I don't know where that's gone. But I can show you quickly if I just run this inside here. So to enter the dataset, you simply just, it's not useful that everything pops up on my other monitor, is it? You can choose a dataset. I'm sure you're probably all familiar anyway, but you can choose our script in here, and you can just copy your scripts that you refine. The reason why my script won't work immediately out of the box in here is because I hid my password in that function that won't be imported into our script, and you can just enter it into this interface. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this interface because it's really terrible to debug. But if you were to do that, it would run, except for my password won't work. So, and I don't want to enter my password in front of anyone, so I won't show you it working properly. But just since I will share the report after if you're interested. Well, not the report with my password, but I'll share a report that you can use afterwards and all my code after if you're interested in reproducing this. So that's quickly. I just wanted to show you that example. It took a little bit longer than I wanted because of that Docker issue. And this is a tool I use to get those report things. So to find that bit of CSS selector, which is probably the most difficult part of the last example, I used a tool, and that tool did some so it used it selected this thing and told me not to select either of these two, and that told me how to get the value I needed. Sorry, the reason why I was distracted was I ran that script and it did fail, but what happened first was it started showing print screens at me inside of so when I run this, if I run this, I'll show you, drag one over as soon as it generates a print screen for you. It started throwing a print screen at me anyway. A bit confusing. So I wanted to show you something a little bit more tangible as a second example, and I'll be pretty quick on this. But this is so I want to show you how to log into a website, download some data, and kind of use that data in your model. Power BI permitting, my demo permitting. This is a print screen that popped out of that script. Our script just popped up in Windows picture viewer. Oh, now it's throwing me loads of print screens. Cool. So I want to show you that data and downloading into the model. So Untappd is where I'm going to get my data from. So Untappd is kind of like a huge social network. If anyone's familiar with Foursquare, now it's called Swarm. It's that kind of idea, but you check into beer and you check into locations. It's really cool. You can kind of socialize and do all that stuff. I just use it to keep a log of my beer and also to show myself how worrying the amount of alcohol I drink is. And if you pay them a little bit of money, they'll let you download your data. Or you can use their API, and let's just pretend that they don't have an API, because you wouldn't use Selenium to log in if they had an API, because why just not use their API with Power BI? How you want to get your data would be you'd want to log into their website, you want to request your data, and then they email you a link. Now, emailing you a link is not great, because you have to go and search your emails, which I'll show you, but it's not a particularly nice thing. But the idea is it's quite a complicated thing to do. So hopefully I can show you that, demo permitting. Cool. So if I show you what, so I can show you what Untappd looks like. We'll navigate to Untappd inside of here. So if I show you really quickly, is it going to break again? If it breaks again, then
do you have a lot more to show because you're actually out of
no.
time?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. It's fine. I can. If anyone's interested. Oh, I think I've broken it. If anyone's interested, yeah, I'll share the code. But effectively, I show you how to log into Untappd. Go to their beer history, ask them for a CSV file. Go check your Outlook, and then extract the data from Outlook, the link, and then load that into a data frame here, and that'll give you. Oops, load those. I'll show you quickly. Did it just before the presentation. It will give you all your beer data, and that can be then loaded inside of a Power BI data set. So if you have any reason to log into a website, that's that you need to log in and you can't get any other way besides communicating with the UI, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so I just wanted to, I guess, conclude. I'll share all the links kind of in the next week or so with all the data if you're interested to reach out to me on Twitter. But yeah, you can kind of interact with the website using Power BI and Selenium, and you can do this to collect data. Sorry that my demos didn't go to plan, but it's a little bit hacky, and if you can avoid it, do it a different way. But if there's a reason you need to link that refresh button to the actions you need to perform, I think it's the only way at the moment in Power BI to easily do this. I guess you could do other stuff like maybe call an Azure function and make it do it, but I think it's pretty an interesting use case. Yep, and I guess thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just tweet me, drop me an email. I'll try and answer.
Okay.
Yep, and thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. We should do this again, but give you a longer time slot because there's a lot to go through, and people seem to be interested in it. We had Alex saying maybe you should try using Python after your R hiccup starts.
That's sacrilege, I think, on my Twitter, but no. Yeah, I think Python's got an interface. It's a really good idea. I agree.
Okay, and then we have Rishi saying, or basically asking, if you could actually use this to track your own user metrics from people consuming particular Power BI reports.
Yeah, you could. You certainly could. We could probably sit down and do that if he's interested.
Yeah, that's what he said on Slack. He will reach out to you at work.
So yeah, it's a really good use case actually. I should probably done that.
Yeah, it is. And I see an extra advantage in here. Not everybody gets access to the API because usually there's huge walls being thrown up before you get access to the API because it opens everything in Power BI up to somebody who has access to that user who's doing using the API.
Yeah.
And using this actually allows you to not use the API, but still do some API tasks in a hacky way, but
yeah.
does allow you to circumvent it for a bit until you can at least prove what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's good. Yeah, it's a good idea. And you can obviously have. I didn't talk about it, but if you're interested in Selenium, you can have conditional stuff around. If this fails, try something else. Try something else. So if I land on the wrong web page, let's try and find the web page I need to find by going to the menu or whatever, which is useful.
Okay, so thank you for doing this, for being here with us today. I'll reach out to you to schedule another talk, which is longer, an hour, maybe 2 hours. I don't know.
I don't know if I don't think anyone wants to listen to it for 2 hours, but yeah, an hour certainly. That's true.
Yeah. And I'm going to start up the next speaker now, Gert-Jan Schokkaert. He's going to talk about custom visuals. Basically a short primer on it for everybody who is interested. So yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Have a nice day, Scott.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Yeah. You too. See you later. Bye.
Bye.